Well, good morning. Now that Aaron's put you to bed, thanks for that, mate. I'm just going to chat a bit about our thoughts, firstly, on this context. And I'm speaking specifically from Big Lottery Fund's point of view, and I know there are a lot of friends in the room who do a lot of work with us. But also just to touch a little bit on where some of this work is headed. And Rajay and his colleagues have done an incredible report here, delivered an incredible report here through EPG. And I just wanted to dwell for a few minutes on what that teaches us for the coming years in all of our organisations, because I know that all of you are concerned by not only the qualitative impact of all that charities and social enterprises and incredible people across the nation do, but also the monetary impact, because all of us are under straitened financial times. All of us are tested by Cabinet Office or NAO or PAC or whoever else to say, well, what's the impact here? If we're going through a time of economic retrenchment, consolidation, then and need is more acute than ever before, then how do we make sure that every pound we invest yields even greater and even stronger and even more powerful impacts? And that's, I think, a really big question for all of us. So firstly, just to touch on the phenomenal impact that Arup and all of his colleagues and friends have had over the last couple of years. I am truly inspired by what they've done. This is a group of, what my friends at the OU would call capitalists, going along their daily lives, caring for their families, doing all that everyone else does, and having a thought, having a conversation, having consideration for people other than just themselves. And they had an idea. And the most incredible thing about what they did with that idea was that they didn't say that someone else should do something, or they didn't say that wouldn't it be great if, or they didn't say, why is the world the way it is? They asked the question, how can we make the world a different place? And they asked that question, but provided an answer. And within a very short period of years, they have delivered the most incredible answer. They've delivered a programme, but more than that, a movement that now has 50,000 people engaging in it and making a difference. A phenomenal network that now has yielded 390 hours of volunteering time and service. A commitment that has not only transformed their lives, as it has in those passionate opening remarks, but transformed the lives of hundreds of thousands, if not potentially millions of people across our country. The domino effect of what you are doing is not just felt by those in this room or by those who you directly felt, but their friends and their families and their networks too. And we should never underestimate that. And so what does that mean for social impact and measurement in particular? I think the work that you guys have done is pretty exceptional. We've been trying to do this at Big for seriously and strategically the last six years. And we obviously came from a period where times were plenty, things were going well, and there wasn't much of a focus on how we necessarily spent our cash. Of course we wanted to make sure it was spent well and accountability was there and that impact was strong, but there was never really a focus on, well, what is the additionality of what you're seriously doing? Where is the real investment going? And what we've tried to do over recent years is to look in collaboration with a whole range of organisations, New Philanthropy Capital, Impetus, various others, to look at what is the social good, what is the social return on investment of what we're doing. And we've been keen to do that, not only because of the fact that this is public cash, lottery payers' income that's going into this, but because of the fact that actually lottery sales have been rising over recent years. We now invest more than £800 million a year in social good and social causes, and of course we all know that the need is more acute than ever before. So we've looked at two main areas in terms of trying to focus on social impact and the social return on investment. The first is, what are the quantifiers by which we can measure this stuff? Is it purely about hours? Is it purely about people? Is it about manpower? Is it about the cities you've touched? Is it about the networks that you've engaged with? Is it the number of partner organisations you've got? Or is there something more profound that we're missing? Is there something else in social impact, social return, measuring that investment and impact that we're missing? And trying to answer that question has been a daunting task, but one which we've been pretty determined to try and get to an answer on. And if anyone's got the answer in this room, we'd be very grateful for it because we haven't found it yet. The second is, well, if there is all this great stuff going on, and if we can measure that to a certain or to a greater or lesser extent, what do we then do with it? Do we produce a report and then be good about it, feel good about it, have a breakfast about it, but then not really do anything? Or is there something else that we could do? And what we want to try and do is make sure that there are messages and texts going off all over the country in order that people can see and feel and understand and test that impact. Replication and innovation is what we call it. So if there is a phenomenal project going on in the Outer Hebrides, and that could have replicational impact in the southwest, or if there is an amazing project engaging health workers in Chad, and that could be replicated in Cheltenham, can we try to do that? Replicating and innovating that best practice. And what I think we've now got to do in this room is to digest this report, really look at its impact, really look at the phenomenal metrics that you guys have identified, and look at what the multiples of that could be. Look at what the impact of that could be, not only for Sewa Day in October of this year, but for a whole range of organisations and networks right across the country. Because what you've got here is pretty special and rather unique in our world at the moment. So I think there are two really big takeaways for me. One is, how do we really measure this stuff? And there are some great proxies in here that we can look at. But the second, arguably, is more important. What's the domino effect of this? What's the replication and innovation that stems from this? And I think that's a conversation that we've all got to be involved in. I just want to end with a very quick note, which may well contradict everything I've just said. And that is that I'm acutely concerned that, yes, we measure social impact. Yes, we look at the quantitative impact of what we all do, and we've got to measure ourselves in a testing and a robust manner. The real soul, the real magic of Sewa Day, of all the phenomenal work that we fund through BIG, is not the pounds, shillings and pence. Is not necessarily the numbers, but it's actually the intangible very often. It is the smile or the cry or the tears of someone whose life has been touched. It's the impact on a young boy who thought that Britain wasn't a place for him, but then saw that there was an arm to embrace him. It's the impact on an 80-year-old lady up in Northumberland who thought that life had ended, that all of her family and her friends had moved away, but then there was a community centre or a network or a friendship group that enabled her to know that hers was a life worth living too. That's the impact of what we're doing. And the test for all of us is, how do we measure and quantify? Yes. But how do we never, ever, ever let that supersede or override the phenomenal moral, heartfelt and soul impact of what we do? And that's the thing that I think faces us, not only actually within the UK, but internationally at the moment, at a time when all of this is even more important. So, congratulations. All of us owe a great debt to you and the network and everyone that you've been working with, to Lloyds and to Mish Condoré. I've said that wrong, but I'm not a city man. Mish Condoré, and to Pratik and his colleagues at EPG for bringing this together. And I very much hope that not only on the 13th of August, is that the date? 6th of October, that is now in the date this year. But for many, many years to come, we can continue to really grow the impact. And your aim should not just be 1 million. You guys have had some pretty phenomenal growth and some pretty phenomenal multiples over the last couple of years. And I'm absolutely sure and confident that with that passion, that raw passion, you'll transform the lives of yet more hundreds of thousands of people. And so let's all do that together. Thanks very much.